Okay.
Hi, everyone! My name is Jenisa Castro.
And I'm Gregg Castro, and we're here for episode 1 of
One World, One People,
a musical revolution.
So, before we jump in, we'd like to tell you a little bit about what this program is and what this series is.
You know, One World, One People is a series of entertaining discussions with guests from around the world. And it's an opportunity, we feel, for all of us to understand that we share a common ground. In the midst of so much diversity and emphasis on differences, we can learn to work together to move forward.
Indeed. And also part of what we have come to realize is that we as individuals affect the greater whole. So what we do as a country affects the world because we are one world, one people. And throughout this series, another thing that I'd like to mention is that we will be taking donations. And 20% of those donations for each episode will go to a different organization, foundation, or charity. The donation link will be in the description below, so make sure that you click that link because today's organization is the Nelson Mandela Foundation.
And today's song is Mandela, a tune that's written by me, and it's a tribute to the spirit and the message of Nelson Mandela.
Today's guest is Oliver C. Brown from Casey and the Sunshine Band and NILS.
And now introducing Mr. Oliver C. Brown.
I wanna put on my boogie shoes. Ollie, it's so good to have you here. We're so excited.
Ollie, we're really proud and happy. You know, I haven't seen you in a little while, and I know this pandemic is keeping everybody apart. You guys, you safe? Being safe there?
Keeping the mask on.
Yeah, keeping the mask on, staying inside.
Yeah, me too. Right. Well, we wanted to let our viewers just remind them a little bit about the career that you've had in the business.
We know that you've had a very vast career as a percussionist in the music industry. You've done so many things, especially as one of the founders of Casey and the Sunshine Band.
Yeah, and that's just the beginning of things. And you went on, you know, when you came back out from Florida, and you became, a really well-known recording artist in the studios. Nancy Wilson. The famous Nancy Wilson, Al Jarreau, the Jacksons, good Lord, and the list goes on and on and on.
And on and on and on. And now we understand that you have a #1 hit on the smooth jazz Billboard charts with NILS.
Yes, I have been extremely blessed, as you have just mentioned. In fact, we have the #1 record this week on Billboard in smooth jazz. It's entitled Caught in the Groove. And there's also something else going on with NILS and I. I've been with NILS now for about 15 years. And we've been #1 about 4 times.
4 times?
Dang. I didn't even know that. That's so exciting. Congratulations, Ollie.
I'm working on a very special project, a rock and roll project right now that I think is going to be the most artistic thing I've ever done with this very talented singer, songwriter, guitar player, piano player, a great voice. Her name is Eileen Arden. Everyone keep your ears and eyes open for this
Eileen
lady.
Arden.
She's going to be huge.
We will.
Eileen Arden.
That's awesome.
So,
All right.
We're so excited for you, Ollie.
So
So we have another question for you.
Okay, so Ollie, you know, aside from all of the work that you've been doing up to date, I think one of the projects that we left out that's very important is your work that you do with Gravity 180. And we feel that that's an important project to highlight because the message in working with Harold Payne and Clydeen Jackson, you guys produce a sound and a message, you know, that relates to the oneness of spirit and that brings, I think, our point of view and our focus on a spiritual...
And the idea of one world, one people.
One world, one
Sorry,
people.
interrupted you.
Yeah. So, you know, tell us a little bit about that.
well, Gravity, we, the three of us, Clydeen, Harold, and myself, consider this to be a lifetime act. It's born out of the spirit of love for music as baby boomers, and it reflects all of the sounds from the era of the 60s, 70s, and 80s. And it's a kind of collective, but we did it in a very special way because the group is comprised of keyboard, acoustic guitar, electrified, and percussion. We didn't have bass or drums on stage, just those two great voices from Glady and Harold and myself playing. And all the music was kind of designed to work in that very unique ensemble. So it's something we'll be doing from now on.
That's awesome, Ollie.
It's great. It's hard to do that too, with the three instruments that you have, and it's tight.
And we also saw on your website, on the Gravity 180 website, that you guys just recently came out with a new album titled The Power of Positive Music. And I think that's such an awesome album title. It really gets to the heart of what we're doing here with this show as well.
And what we all need now.
Yeah, that's very agreed.
Well,
But there was a...
Go ahead.
I was going to say there was a quote on the website that actually really caught my attention, and I was hoping you might be able to elaborate on it. What it says is, in this album, the songs appear to take on a life of their own while having the uncanny ability to be familiar to our ears without us ever hearing them before. This is the spiritual essence that is Gravity 180. I love that description. Can you tell us a little bit more about what that means?
Well, basically, it was born out of a desire to do something in the music industry when negative rap first showed up. I do have respect for every art form there is, and Harold and I were both talking about what we should be doing as artists in order to bring something else, the kind of alternative to what that was, because although there was a message in what gangster rap and the rest of them were saying, it was saying it in such a negative way. We believe all music comes from God. And so what we did was create a collective of songs that have a message in them, not necessarily spiritual, religious, but definitely spiritual.
Right.
And speak about the love and the caring and the sharing and the necessity for mankind to move in that direction.
Wow.
And so, hence, the power of positive music was born. Yeah,
Ollie, I've heard you guys, and I actually, reviewed a number of the tunes from that album, and it's feel good music and feel good in the deepest, most spiritual sense as well.
And Ollie, tell us, where can we find this album?
Well, you can go to my website, which is olivercbrown.com.
All one word, Oliver C. Brown.
Right. olivercbrown.com. And on that website, you will find Gravity 180's website as well as NILS' website. And you can connect to Gravity 180 from gravity180.net. But just go to Oliver C. Brown. It hooks it all together.
Oh, good. Perfect, Ollie. Yeah.
That was awesome.
Okay. Ollie, in the work that you've done with Gravity 180, I know you guys did numerous tours. And I was interested to ask you about the time that you spent in Japan.
Well, one of the things I was blown away with in Japan was how clean it was.
Me too.
This is amazing. People don't think about things like this. We take it for granted, Mm-hmm. But you would go in Japan and get on the subway, and it looked like something that you could serve dinner instead of like our subways.
I know. It was really interesting when I visited Japan. Something that was so cool to me was how well they work together as a community. Something that I thought was really, really kind of strange, especially coming from America where we're all kind of doing our own thing, is that, not strange, but different, was that there are elevators out on the street to take you down into the subways. And out on the street in Tokyo, there are 1 million people. And what was so funny is the people who were getting on the elevator, they would all get into lines, and then they would all part the ways for each other, like like it was all calculated, like they were practicing this for years, but none of them knew each other. It was just like something that they do as a community together. They work together in order to make the community work. I thought that was so cool.
Yes, yes. Well, those are the kind of human qualities that I think it's so important to focus on, because even though they're highlighted in Japan, they are human qualities, and we do find them here in America, and I think we just need to see more of it here.
Right.
I think, yeah, it's true.
So, Ollie, obviously one of the main points of this show is to recognize that music is a universal language, and we can use it for so many more things than just listening. So on that topic, I'd love to hop into a conversation about Casey and the Sunshine Band. I found out that two of your original founders were actually originally from the Miami Junkanoo Band. And so I wanted to ask the question of, how do you feel that expression of freedom and that expression of joy, that expression of release, how is that translated into the music that you ultimately created with Casey and the Sunshine Band?
Well, like I said, I was in the Bahamas too.
Oh,
I would be there during the Junkanoo, which was like the people on the street, just music, dancing and shaking tambourines and bells and things. And on literally the people were like the audience. The audience was the entertainment. You would go to the Bahamas, and the Junkanoo Band would just be everybody out on the street playing music together almost. And the sound was just infectious,
The music was the language.
And so Casey and Rick went over there and ran up on that sound and just were like, we got to figure out a way to incorporate this into popular music.
Yeah. That's exactly what it is. It's the feeling.
The Ocean Liners, who were already steeped in that sound, and we put it all together in the studio, and hence Casey and the Sunshine Band.
That was the thing about Casey and the band. All the music you guys made, Oliver, was contagious. It was like everybody felt so good that wherever you showed up, people were on their feet immediately. People were just filled with joy. It was like going to the Greater Starlight First Baptist Church or something like that.
Yeah.
It was because it was a celebration of the human spirit.
The audiences, in fact, when they come to see the Sunshine Band, would be out of their seats and rocking through the entire show. And the Sunshine Band experience was actually the greatest thing that ever happened to me, and the worst thing that ever happened at the same time. if you can be that. But the sad thing about the band, which people need to know this, we made a promise to each other when we didn't have a dime, that if we succeeded in this music business, that we would share it in for a penny, in for a pound. Mm-hmm. But Henry Stone, president of TK Records, had released Get Down the Night, and it became the #1 record in the country. All of a sudden we were shocked with, we have nothing, and now we've got looks like everything. Mm. And so Casey and Rick pulled me aside and said, Ollie, look, I know we said that in for a penny with in for a pound, but I really think the band should be Rick and Casey and Jerome Smith and Robert Johnson, the drummer, and you. And I said, well, what about the horn players? And it was a very uncomfortable experience for me. So I left the band at that point, which makes it the best thing that ever happened to me.
Yeah.
Because there I was with the #1 record, my face on the cover of Cashbox magazine, and I came to LA. And I'm saying this to say, God is watching us in this business and in this world. And what you do does matter. And I've lived to see that come to pass. Mm-hmm. So I just want to say that to the listening audience.
Right.
Do the right thing.
Let's just take a moment to acknowledge the fact that we're eating pizza.
Oh, and that's good too.
Feel free to have a piece of pizza with us at home.
So, let me swallow this, Ollie. Here we go. So, a little bit of a segue now, because we're coming from a discussion about that one language that resolves the differences between people, and that helps emphasize the common ground that we all have, that the one language of music. And that takes us to something else that is a conversation in the nation today, which is uniting the entire world, as a matter of fact, and that's Black Lives Matter. So I know you have some very interesting and strong feelings about that. If you could share that with our viewers, we'd sure appreciate it.
Well, this is my feeling about the entire situation we find ourselves in right now. I like to say to people, keeping my eye on what I call the biggest picture. And this thing, to me, the good that can come out of this is the awakening of races and what does race really mean. There really is only one race, the human race. And we need to all get on to that, you know. And really, and I think out of this struggle and this pain that we're having right now, with what's going on in America in particular, with shooting black people for being black and so on and so forth in this country, the whole legacy of slavery that we just can't seem to shake loose, you know, and gain some respect. I think, in fact, I know that, you know, the human race actually, you know, comes in many colors and two categories, good and evil. And if you're one of the good ones, then the color is irrelevant and it doesn't matter, you know. So I understand the importance of Black Lives Matter. We definitely need to point it out, you know, because unless you point something out, you can't really fix it. But if we can come out of this to understand that the most important thing is our humanity and the importance of lifting that up. You know, I feel like, you know, John Lennon said it so many years ago, you know, you might think that I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. And I hope someday you'll join us and the world could live as one.
I love
you
that.
Know? You know, it's like...
What a good connection.
We can take this moment and raise this world up to a place where the human race finally achieves its greatest understanding of why it is here.
So we all know that we are all one, and we understand that we have a big responsibility as Americans choosing who our next president is going to be.
It's a big moment for us, but it's not only a big moment for us, it's a big moment for the world, because so many of the issues that are essential for human happiness in America are the same issues that are essential in every country of the world. And at one point, we were the leader in helping to move these things forward, and we want to remain a useful example to the world, as well as being able to survive, for goodness sake.
And so speaking on the issue of Black Lives Matters, let's take a look at what both parties are doing for that issue. So we have both sides, both parties, both thoughts. What are your thoughts on this upcoming presidential election surrounding Black Lives Matters?
Well, my feeling about, once again, the two parties, you know, is that the Republicans, first of all, have bought into this position of, if someone else rises up, I may have to go down. And that's just not so. The truth of the matter is, you will raise yourself up by raising others up, because you will cease to lose the benefit of what they can contribute to your life. You're actually going to gain something if you invest in people. So we have to wake them up to that truth and reality. In terms of the Democrats are a group of people that tend to be too willing to compromise with people that have a position that you just got to take a stand against. You know, some things you just can't find common ground on, like you can't agree to have slavery. I mean, it just won't work. No one wants to be one, and you wouldn't want to be one. And that's what I say. And that's what I say to my Republican friends.
Ain't that the truth?
And so the Democrats have to be able to stand up and say, look, there's certain things that are just not going to be tolerated.
Ollie,
and that's our problem.
Right. What are your thoughts on community policing?
Yeah. Well, look, when I grew up in Berkeley, it was fantastic. But we had a police force that you had to have a BA to get on the police force. You had to graduate from college to get on our police force.
Wow.
And the police force in Berkeley was so good in those days that the police would catch me out drinking underage, and they would take me home.
Oh,
not to jail.
Good
they would
God,
drive me home, knock on the door, and say, Mr. Brown, we have your son here that has, and I had more to pay for my dad than I did from them. But the fact is, that's how policing should be done. Yeah. It should be a thing that you look at the society and the kids in particular in it as your kids. Mm-hmm, and what would you do to your kid when you catch them breaking the rules or whatever it is? You don't take them down to the police station, hit them in the head with a billy club. You certainly don't shoot them because they're running away because they know they did something wrong and they're frightened. You know, you collect them up, you take them to their parents, you sit down with them, and you put them on the right path.
So, Ollie, we're going to jump to another question here. This is something I think that is interesting and essential for all of our viewers and everybody that's going to be voting. Healthcare. Mm-hmm. Healthcare. We know that it's an impossibly difficult subject, I think, to resolve, as it seems, for the politicians. But we got to do something about it, and hopefully this election will help us resolve it. So the issue is between private healthcare insurance and universal health care, or in other words, Medicare for all. You know, most Americans, and all of our viewers most certainly, are interested in the question of universal health care. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, it seems like neither of our parties really are putting that out there on the platform this year. You know, the Democratic Party with Joe Biden is, as far as he goes, is to reinstituting Obamacare. He said that his policy is giving Americans more choice, reducing healthcare costs, making our healthcare system less complex to navigate, while Trump has stated that he will be coming out with a healthcare plan soon. But of course, we haven't seen it or heard anything about it yet. So given this information, I'm curious what your thoughts are, Ollie. And as we spoke previously, you have probably a pretty unique point of view too, being a veteran. So could you share your thoughts with us on that?
Well, as a veteran, I have wonderful health care as far as I'm concerned. I mean, I go in, I see a doctor if I need one. I get all of my medicine free. Even if I have to stay in the hospital, that's free too. Mm. I have an assortment of doctors and specialists that I can see for anything that comes up, and all of that is free. Wow. Now, I think that every American should have what I have. However we create it. If it's Medicare for all, if it's just the government just saying, look, we have a program that says everyone's going to get what the VA is giving to the veterans. Mm-hmm. You know, the bottom line is we need to think of health care as a right to life. People that say that they believe in a right to life, well, you really don't have a right to life if you don't have medical care. Mm-hmm. You know, because the minute you get sick, you're gone, you know, if you don't have money. So they have to just get real about this, you know. Medical care should be understanding that you get it if you're born, and you have it until you die, period. Americans need to take a stand against any of this nonsense about piecemealing out their health care like it's something that we're doing you a favor or anything like that. The fact of the matter is all the health care that the veterans are getting for free is coming from your tax dollars.
Yep.
And everything else that you need should be coming from these tax dollars as well. We need to start treating people with the same value that we treat the defense industry. You know.
And now, on to more music. We are rolling. Okay.
So, Ollie, it's on to music now, and we're going to talk a little bit about this featured song today. One of my songs, it's called Mandela, and I wrote this some time ago because it's a tribute, you know, to the spirit and to the dedication and to the sacrifice of one of the great human beings, Nelson Mandela. And of course, you know, we're all familiar with him. We don't hear too much about him recently, but I think he fits right into the Black Lives Matter movement. You know, I think without any doubt, the sacrifices that he made to bring about equality in South Africa, spent 20 years in prison.
Not only in South Africa, but he did contribute to a greater global civil rights movement as well.
And isn't that what we're talking about? Really, Black Lives Matter. It's like a part of the shockwave that came across the planet from that tsunami that Nelson Mandela created. You know, with his sacrifice and his action, when without a violent revolution, he was able to transform, you know, the severest form of racism and turn that country around and put it back into the hands of the population there.
And for our audiences, can you tell us a little bit about the song that you wrote that we're presenting today as well?
Yeah, the story is pretty simple. It talks about the rhythms of change. It talks about the pounding drum beats, the heartbeat of humanity that keeps moving in a growing way, an ever-expanding way. You know, Mandela drums are beating. Time is now, time is now. Hear them say, there's no peace, there's no rest. We're a planet possessed. Mandela, Mandela, Mandela.
Well, when I think of Mandela, I think of a man that came to understand something that Gandhi and Jesus put into play in Martin Luther King. Every time anyone has approached our differences and our challenges in a nonviolent way, it put it down and it stayed down. For instance, I mean, he was involved in a lot of violent situations when he was a young man. But he came to realize that if he really wanted to overcome this problem, it was going to require the same methods that Jesus and Gandhi had used, you know. And Black Lives Matter need to understand the same thing. Martin Luther King went through a lot of changes, but it's a long ways from where it was when he started, because he went at it in a nonviolent fashion.
Right.
And we can take it the rest of the distance using those same methods, because in the core of every human being, I'm sure that there is a compassion.
Well said, Big O. Well said.
Yeah.
And Ollie, we know that you have performed with us on the Kungas quite a few times playing this song, right?
That's right, yeah. We've done this song live many times.
So on that note, Ollie, can you tell us a little bit about your journey playing the Kungas, and specifically how you feel that your sound adds to this message and this song and this storytelling?
Well, you know, the Kunga, I've always been proud, you know, to play this particular instrument, because I came to understand with a little bit of study that it's the first thing that man had, you know, and it's the first thing that happens in the womb too.
Wow.
The pulse. It's the pulse of everything. The heart is the first thing that comes together in the womb. And in the music, it's the pulse. I see the Kunga as kind of that pulse in the music that you just can't get away from. So when I'm playing it, I'm feeling like I'm giving people the core roots of the pulse of what the music is, which drives us into that place of harmony and togetherness, you know. So this holds the music all together to me.
And Ollie gets to play with me.
Yes, Ollie is actually featured in the video following our conversation, so make sure you stick around to watch. You get to see him play a little Kungas.
Right.
Ollie, before we introduce the song or introduce the video, do you have anything you'd like to add just in general to the conversation here?
I love what you're doing. We need to do more of this because I believe that the first thing we have to do is have a conversation about changing our greed and our evil ways so that we can have mankind finally reach its full potential on this planet.
And I think that goes for all of us.
That goes for all of us. I know it's a message that we sorely need. And I know it resonates in the heart of all of our viewers too. Ollie, I love you so much.
I love you so much. So Ollie, we're going to now present our video. We're so excited that you were here with us today, and we're so excited and honored to have your perspective on this show. You are so inspirational, and your words, you're so articulate. So awesome.
Oh, thank you. It's truly an honor. Thank you.
All right, Ollie. Bye-bye. God bless.
Peace. Bye-bye.
Okay, here we go. So 1, 2, 3, 4.
Mandela, drums are beating. Time is now, time is now. Hear them say, there's no sleep, there's no rest. We're a planet possessed. Mandela, Mandela, Mandela. Of time, God made mankind in the image and likeness of Him. Yellow and red, brown, black and white, but one color under the skin. Mandela, Mandela, drums are beating. Time is now, time is now. Hear them say, there's no sleep, there's no rest. We're a planet possessed. Mandela, Mandela, Mandela. Bent by the weight of endless time, we watch as prosperity passes. Who worked in the field, brother to the beast,
Give us freedom and give us our peace. Mandela, Mandela,
drums are beating.
time is now, time is now.
Hear them say, there's no sleep, there's no rest. Planet possessed.
Mandela, Mandela, Mandela.
When will we rest this monstrous thing? Prejudice, greed, and hatred. When will we sing of freedom and peace? Mandela, Mandela, Mandela.
Mandela, Mandela,
Drums are beating.
time is now, time is now.
Hear them say,
There's no sleep, there's no rest.
we're a planet possessed.
Mandela, Mandela, Mandela. Mandela, Mandela, drums are beating. Time is now, time is now. Hear them say, there's no sleep, there's no rest. We're a planet possessed. Mandela, Mandela, Mandela. That was it. Ooh.
I think that was it.
Yay! We did it! Thank you guys so much for joining us today. My name is Jenisa Castro.
My name is Gregg Castro.
And this is One World, One People, a musical revolution.
So peace, and let's find our common ground.
Yes, and please tune in next week for another very special guest. And just as a reminder, we are taking donations today for the Nelson Mandela Foundation. The donation link is in the description below. Have a great day and join us next week.